We're going to do it again since it got pretty decent reviews the first time. We're going to break down the current Cowboys playoff picture, the slim hopes that exists if you harbor those. Or if you're on Team Tank, we will also explore that one. Very weird to be doing both in one video, but it seems fair and balanced and just makes sense to me. So should we keep doing these playoff picture, draft pick, tanking videos as long as the Cowboys win or lose? We will have them for you if you want them. Like the video and get your vote in, so to speak, by doing it right now. Here is the current NFC playoff picture as things stand. Now, what matters for Dallas is, look, you're not going to catch the Philadelphia Eagles. There's no way you win that division as it is right now. It's impossible. It's just not feasible. Now, at 5-7, you are not necessarily out of the NFC wildcard picture, but there are multiple teams in front of you with the Commanders at the 7 spot. Bucs, Cardinals, Rams, and Niners all currently sit ahead of the Cowboys. They are not technically eliminated from that playoff picture quite yet. But at 5-7, they pretty much have to win out. There are some scenarios, depending on who they lose to, where they can still get in at 9-8, but that seems pretty unlikely, if not impossible, but very unlikely with the way the Cowboys' schedule currently sets up. As of right now, Dallas does not control its own destiny. And frankly, they didn't quite get the type of help that they were looking for this past Sunday. Here are the current playoff chances for various different sites. Playoff Status has one. They got the Cowboys at 5%. Next Gen Stats has them at 4%. The New York Times, 1%. I know that they own The Athletic, but it is a different model that they use. Net, less than 1% from The Athletic. ESPN, less than 1%. What I'm saying is, there's a chance. But much like the movie, it's not a very good chance at this point. So with that in mind, what do you believe is the percent chance that the Dallas Cowboys make the playoffs this year? Let me know in the comments. Check the pinned comment, in particular, of today's show. The ad comes on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there. Let me know the percent chance that you think the Dallas Cowboys make the playoffs this year. Let's break down their schedule. We'll also use the Athletics feature of like the win probability for each of these games, plus other games we'll get to here in a little bit. Bengals on Monday Night Football, at Carolina, home against Tampa, at Philadelphia, home against the Commanders. Here's what the Athletic has on the win probability side. Now, again, these are all subject to change. They update it each week. Every Monday and Sunday they change based on what's happened previously, and any injuries can be impacted there. Healthy Joe Burrow right now, it's at 37% against the Bengals. A very unlikely outcome. They're 6.5-point dogs as of filming in that game. Kind of makes some sense. Panthers, a near coin flip game, 51%. The Bucs, 41%. Philly, down there at 21% chance. That's a road game in which Philly might just clinch the NFC East that week. Not overly surprising there. The Commanders, that one could change a lot, depending on who's playing for what at that point in the season. Commanders might be in, might not be in. 39% chance there. If you just go based on the probability, the proper over-under is 1.5 more wins. Because that's the only game they're favored in, Carolina. So what do you think ends up happening? O for over, U for under. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Like I mentioned, you're not going to win the division. The NFC East curse will remain for at least one more season. The Commanders are on bye, by the way. So they're not going to play this weekend. So best case, you're going to be at 6-7. They're 8-5. You're still going to be 2 games back. Best case scenario. You also have one more game against Philadelphia. That would put you at 8 losses this season. Does anyone here think the Cowboys are really going to beat Philadelphia? I have my doubts. The New York Times now has the Cowboys at a 78% chance of winning out and making the playoffs based on likely outcomes involving other games, which means the Commanders got to win 3 games, which is very doable given their schedule, as we will discuss. If you win all your other games and you lose against Philadelphia, it's a 14% chance of making the postseason. And that's still really unlikely. It requires a lot of collapses from other teams. You do sweep the Commanders, which helps you, though. You still need, another win, another loss in there from the Commanders. The wild card threats, as we sit right now, the Commanders at 8-5. This is, again, per The Athletic. 79% chance. Falcons 63, Bucs 53. You'll notice that those don't add up to 100% because you've got the NFC South being open and got really 200% basically in terms of the math you're trying to get to there, plus some NFC West stuff with the Cardinals. So it's all not even math, but you've got real playoff contenders that are 500 right now. And you've lost some key head-to-heads. The Saints lost. That was a big NFC loss. The Niners are not really a real playoff threat, but they're still ahead of you right now. You lost head-to-head against Atlanta. The Eagles, you lost against. That big win over Washington. But all of a sudden, by the way, if you beat Tampa to help your playoff hopes, that helps the Falcons' NFC South hopes. Or if you lose to Tampa to get the Falcons out into the wild card race, you lost them. So you kind of have your mistakes along the way. That losing streak against Atlanta, Philly, and Houston really puts you behind the 8 ball. Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. It's available in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. They've got injury insurance. If a player goes down in the first half, doesn't return, Prize Picks still keeps your lineup live. And it's not just pro football. They got college football as well. My boy Jack Lotteray cooked up one of these SEC title game ones. He was feeling spicy. Quinn Ewers, more than 3.5 passing yards. Wisner, the running back, Quintravian Wisner, less than 7.5 yards on the ground. And he picked Carson Beck, more than 2.5 passing yards. He's been on a heater, though. Do the flex play. Oh, if you get one wrong, you still cash out. Go download the Prize Picks app today over at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Let's run through the remaining schedules for all these teams that are ahead of you of note. Well, we won't do the 49ers, by the way. Commanders on bye in Week 14. They are predicted to beat the Saints, not so much against Philly, beat the Falcons, and beat the Cowboys. Let's say they lose to Philadelphia, but they beat the Saints and they beat the Falcons, and you lose to Philadelphia as we expect in Week 17. At that point, the Commanders have gotten to 10 wins, and you're in trouble. Now, maybe they lose to Saints and Falcons, and you're still maybe alive. You have to keep winning all of those games. That's the best path. And it requires help from other teams who, oh, by the way, have kind of easy schedules. The Cardinals are so high up because they don't play anybody. The Seahawks right now are the division leader in the NFC West. The Cardinals maybe lose that game. Then they got the Patriots, Panthers, and 2 teams who may be out of it in the Rams and Niners. That kind of feels like 2 or 3 wins at minimum to me. And then they're at 8 wins. And one more, they probably win the tiebreaker over you with 9 wins, given all your NFC losses already. It's not great. The Falcons, they probably won't beat the Minnesota Vikings. The Raiders, the Giants, the Panthers. That should get them to 9 wins. 10 wins maybe against Washington. That might be enough to win the NFC South. Or put you in tiebreaker scenario against the Cowboys, who we assume don't beat Philadelphia. All changes if they win out. All changes if they win out. The Bucs schedule, meanwhile, super easy. Raiders, Panthers, Saints. By the way, that Cowboys Week 16 game, I would expect the Buccaneers beat the Raiders. I don't think they beat the Chargers, which means that puts them in we got way more to play for, or even just as much to play for as the Cowboys do Week 16. That could certainly put Dallas in an elimination game scenario, at least a de facto elimination game scenario. That Bucs win that game against Dallas, you would have lost to Bucs and Atlanta, and that just makes it almost impossible. So your Week 14 rooting guide here for the Dallas Cowboys. For playoff purposes, Vikings over Falcons, Raiders pulling a massive over Tampa Bay. Seattle over Arizona. Bills over the Rams, just to help knock the Rams down a little bit. And narrowly, Bears over Niners, since you do want the Niners to keep losing games and kind of get them out of the way, which is certainly noteworthy. That's what you're aiming for if you want to have some success down the stretch here. Now, we'll be here all season and off-season long. We're about to break down the tanking side of things here, if that's what you guys want, but not everyone does. It's fine. That's why it's at the end. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. Now, I kind of laid it out. I don't think it's very likely you're able to make a real playoff push. Now, as a team, as an organization, with coaches and players' lives on the line, so to speak, with their jobs on the line, they're not going to actively lose games on purpose. But that doesn't mean you can't still hope for some help here as the Cowboys push forward the rest of the season. With the Sunday results, especially the win by Indianapolis helped out a little bit there. Win by the Rams and the Bucs and the loss by the Cardinals. You now have pick number 13 in the NFL draft. The Niners have a better playoff hope than you. They also have a lower pick than you. They're at 14. What you're facing this week is a massive tanking opportunity against the Bengals. They are currently 4-8. They are number 10. Now, ironically, you hurt their strength of schedule if they beat you, but that's how it's going to go in terms of the race to the bottom. A loss does help the Cowboys' playoff hopes. Now, remember, a loss also boosts your own strength of schedule, so you're kind of playing that double-edged sword, but you'd rather have the outright than the tiebreaker, you know? So a safe space here to answer this question for me. Do you want to beat the Bengals? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comment section of today's video. Let's talk Week 14 tanking guide here. The outcomes, I think, almost regardless of what the Cowboys do, you're cheering for. Some exceptions with, like, the playoff hopes if you have those. I'm going Tennessee over Jacksonville. I'm 3 games back of the Jags at 2-10. I can't catch them. I could catch Tennessee, though, who play the Jags twice. So go Titans. I will asterisk Jets over Dolphins. Jets are 3-9. Dolphins 5-7. You could jump up a spot if the Dolphins win, but maybe the Dolphins can win some games down the stretch still, and the Jets can win some too. So I'm you kind of got a double-edged sword there. But Dolphins win, it's not the worst thing either. Falcons over Minnesota, the opposite of the playoff hopeful outcome there. Saints over the Giants. Again, the Saints are 4-8. Giants are 2-10. I can't catch New York. I can catch the Saints though. Carolina over Philadelphia, which seems unlikely, but Carolina's been scrappy as of late. The Browns over the Steelers, which you want the Browns to keep winning games here. The Raiders of the Bucs, which helps you either way, and seems unlikely. Bears over San Francisco. Again, the Bears are 4-8. You cheer for the team with the worst mark. Rams over Bills, and I guess Cardinals over Seahawks. I don't think that really matters all that much because Arizona's 6-6. You're already ahead of them, but I want to have 10 and have a nice round, even graphic.